Go-to-market is your insurance policy against waste. Most small and medium businesses, they do not have the 6-month runway in order to create a product that's maybe a passion one that they love and they think everyone's going to flock to and buy when they haven't done the research to find out what the consumer really wants. So small and medium businesses, you don't have that luxury that perhaps a large company, a multi-billion-dollar company has. Take the time, do the due diligence, because without a strong go-to-market, you could find yourself in a very precarious situation where no one's adopting and no one understands what your product is, and you've found yourself in a really bad position.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Marketing Blender Show. I am Dacia Coffey, and with me as my co-host today is the amazing Mellora Moore. Thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I am so excited. We have been prepping this conversation for a long time because it is wildly overdue and wildly misunderstood. Mellora is an amazing go-to-market specialist and expert. And I mean, she can almost do this like the back of her hand, which is interesting when we start unpacking the complexities of go-to-market. So I'm super excited to share with you the real way to build and execute go-to-market strategies for B2B companies. But let's start first, Mel, with tell everybody a little bit about your background, because I think it's a big, huge miss if people don't understand how much robust experience you have in this.
So thank you. My career has spanned, and it's always embarrassing now for me to say, over 30 years, but those 30 years have been spent a lot in working on product development, product launch for anyone from very small companies to brands like Mary Kay to companies that we're working with today that are building and launching products that are going to change and revolutionize their business.
Yeah.
So for me, it's been a passion all my life, which is to dig into what customers want, what's really going to move the market forward, and then how to build it in such a way that it is a revenue engine for the organization.
And I think that's the key that I love so much when I see the nuance about the strategies that you build for our clients is that you never lose focus on speed to revenue, in planning for success, and in the ROI or the negative ROI of what happens when you skip this. And so, I've seen you work with companies that are trying to achieve their very first $50,000 in revenue.
Yes.
So hardcore startups.
Yes.
And then you've also guided product strategies across international waters.
Yes.
Which then requires a lot of nuance in regards to different go-to-markets, depending on the culture, depending on the product packaging, depending on the perception of the market, even though it's the same product. So, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So let's go ahead and jump straight in. It's amazing. Like, how marketing jargon kind of like floats up from time to time?
Sure.
I see GTM everywhere right now. And I'm like, calm down. That's not even what it is. So from an expert perspective, how do you define go-to-market?
So when I'm looking at it, and the conversation that we're having today is really about when you are bringing a new product, a new business to market to start selling it to whoever your consumer is, whether it is a direct sell to, individual who's at a store shopping, or you're selling a service to a business. That is where I'm looking and talking about GTM today. It is how do you bring that business, startup, or a product, physical or service, or say a technical product to market.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the way that we're going to talk about it today versus what happens after and how do you make that go to market.
Now, I do want to add a little nuance because you're right. I love that we're going to focus on there. But for the audience, I've seen Mellora deploy go-to-market in the middle of product maturity, basically, in that phase. And the reason is because sometimes a company is misunderstanding why things aren't resonating, and they skipped some crucial components, which is then making their journey. So GTM can be deployed even if the product has been out there, or even more importantly, sometimes when your product strategy is a little blurry and there needs some sharpness so that the market can understand you and build trust faster. So we are going to talk about it more from a product launch standpoint, but remember, it can be redeployed, not as a relaunch, but in order to get more return on investment and a stronger adoption in the market for your offering. So I love it. Okay, so we're talking about what it is. Let's talk real quick before we dive into specifics. What happens when people skip the actual strategy and planning part of go-to-market?
When you are skipping that part, you are going to spend, let's say you could spend up to 6 months developing something that you really and passionately believe is going to revolutionize your market. Your customers are going to love it. They are going to flock to it. But in reality, if you have not gone through discovery, what I call phase 0, where you are really looking at what is the market looking for, what is your consumer, your ICP, your target audience looking to buy, where are there gaps in the marketplace, there's an opportunity for you to to expand on a product, maybe it's through new features, then you could be wasting 6 months or more bringing something to market that your salespeople, they can't sell. Your marketers are sitting there and they're like, I don't know how to message to this. If you ask 5 people, what does this product do? What does it serve? What purpose does it serve? And you get 5 different answers, you have a product that is not going to succeed.
Yeah. And another one I see is where they think they've done the thinking, and they go, it can go to market A and B and C and D, and we can basically serve everyone.
Yes.
Okay, no, we do not launch with a we can serve everyone message.
Correct.
And I always want to encourage people, there is a maturity spectrum from product and offering, and having a long game point of view where you want fast speed to revenue because you're being laser focused and you're growing where you're planted.
Yes.
If you will, and then allow it to take on a life of its own and an expansion of its own strategically.
Yes.
Planned.
Yes.
But, launching as if it's a mature product, I see that happen because they're so far ahead in their vision that you're right. And I love that phrase, phase 0. Like, I love when you use it and deploy it with clients because it's kind of this aha moment, like, oh my gosh, like this portion is a critical phase. So can we dive a little bit deeper into like how long should that take, or what does it, like what are the kind of minimum things that have to be done to actually really being doing this well?
So when you're looking at phase, I call it phase 0. You're going to see it in, it's really called discovery phase. I call it phase 0 for myself and with my clients because you are starting. It's not even at some points the ground level, it's a little bit below it. And that's because you are doing your research on what is the market, what are your consumers looking, what problem are you solving for them? And not only that, it is what problem do they not know that they have?
Yeah.
So when you're starting to look at it that way, you're broadening this selection of solutions for them. But you're also looking at what is the competition doing?
Yeah.
And when you start mapping that out, you're looking what your competition is doing. You're looking at where research is showing you the industry is going. You're looking at what my customers are telling me, through different signals. I have a problem here. There's friction here.
Yeah.
Then you're able to take a step back and say, what can I do to solve that?
Yeah.
Where can I fit? And then you start looking at how am I going to price it? How am I going to deliver it? Am I truly defining how I can solve that problem?
Yeah.
When you have that, then you can start moving into the development of it. You are going through this, and I've seen it so many times. Founders, product marketing teams, sales, They have an idea, and this idea is going to do it. This is my passion product. Everyone's going to buy it. It's the field of dreams. If you build it, they will come.
Everybody thinks that.
They're
Yeah,
not.
They're not.
They don't even know you went to Home Depot to start building something. So when you are looking at this, it's not serving what you think you need.
Yeah.
It's solving the problem that your customer has.
Yep.
And making sure you're aligned with it.
Yeah, I love that. You know, it brings to mind like one of your recent experiences with a client where, you know, they were much more mature. I mean, very successful mid-market company. And I remember when you and I were first touring their facility.
Oh, yes.
And we got to see their full product line in person. And your brain was immediately like, how are they choosing what products to launch season after season? And it was fascinating because this very successful large mid-market company was still using their gut and their intuition. And there was so much market data and important trends in the healthcare facilities they served, in hospitality that they served, that had, you know, that paradigm shift to go, okay, how do we serve the market where they're at right now and what they're paying attention to, reversing that into product strategy versus, well, we saw this really cool new thing that we're going to do, and we're just going to launch this new thing and hope the market likes it. And, you know, I mean, that change is amazing because it cuts waste from product launches. It can even streamline product offerings, which can be very scary when your original positioning was we offer everything. But sometimes the more powerful thing is we offer specialized things for your industry. And it was so fun just even watching you like categorizing, you know, like where the big opportunities were. And I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be good.
Whenever I talk to people and they say, oh, you're in marketing. And I very clearly will say, yes, I'm a product marketer, because regardless of what we're doing, we are selling a product to a consumer. Understanding what that consumer is looking for is paramount.
Yeah.
So the reference that you have is what would work in a hospital environment, say for a children's ward, versus what would work for, say, a senior center that's a memory center. Those are two vastly different things versus putting something at a very high-end hotel, let's say, you know, something in Vegas. Those cannot be the same items.
Yes.
So when you're looking at it, truly understanding, and then understanding what your mix needs to be across the entire portfolio, not just we're only going to serve this, we're only going to create this product, when you have actually a different segment of customers who are buying at a higher velocity and coming and returning for additional purchases. You're serving this one over here and you're forgetting this one over here.
Exactly. And revenue strategy, like you mentioned at the top of the call, like how does go-to-market become a true revenue engine like that? Because let's pretend one is really sexy, but the addressable market in truth, not the total addressable market, but the real one that would really resonate. It doesn't matter how big that market is. If it's not core to your revenue strategy, then maybe it doesn't deserve to be prioritized, no matter what you think. Like, go back to the data, go back to how your business runs, and make strategic decisions, you know, with a planning perspective versus a shoot now, aim later, which is kind of what you're getting at.
That's what you're getting. But I want to add something to this. You'll see in a lot of organizations where innovation's being driven could be through different groups.
Yeah.
It could be R&D led, it could be marketing led, it could be sales led. And when you have these individuals working in a silo and not really understanding where the research needs to take place in phase 0, then what you're going to have is this potential mismatch between the product and the market. So product market fit won't be there.
Yeah.
I will say that this organization is being driven more from the creative department. So the creative department is not really there looking at the market trends, watching the sales numbers, and really paying attention. It is more about what they feel is going to look pretty,
Yeah.
what will actually, look good on walls and things of that nature, but it's not necessarily serving what the consumer needs.
Yeah. So let's dive into that a little bit more.
Sure.
Who owns go-to-market? I mean, I know that's ironic because it's a marketing podcast.
Yes.
But this is really important, and it's
Right.
one of the things you solve for.
It is a business strategy. And when it comes down to being a business strategy, you do have all individuals involved. So if it's being founder-led, if it's being sales-led, or wherever those, ideas are coming from, it should actually be driven by your marketers. And if you have someone who specializes in product development, product lifecycle marketing, they can help you get through phase 0. Where is the product market fit going to be? And then moving into what's the development? What features, what benefits, what elements need to be included in this? And then from there, what are we going to sell it for? What's the price? And then how are we going to get it to the consumer? Then you're moving into, I'm moving this out into the market. I have all of my sales presentations ready for my sales team. I have all of the marketing in place. I have a product that is truly for the group of individuals that I'm selling it to.
Yeah.
And you said something earlier, your market is not everyone.
No.
There is not a market that is everyone.
Nope.
And when you splinter out and you try to go big and capture everything, you're going to find yourself spending money and spending good money chasing bad.
Yeah.
So that's not an area that you want to be operating in at all.
Yeah.
It's discipline. It's a business strategy. It's not siloed, but you need a group or an individual in the company who can drive that forward for you in a very methodical and strategic way.
At the Marketing Blender, we have fractional CMOs and outsourced marketing teams to drive your success. The two most common problems that we are approached about is how do we break revenue plateaus and accelerate success, or how do we attribute marketing to revenue impact? And the answer is that we build a system, because your marketing should be driving revenue, it should be driving your reputation, and it should be driving resilience. If you want to learn more, check out themarketingblender.com. Okay, so to make sure I heard correctly, so it's definitely a marketing leader, like a CMO, driving this.
Yes.
And especially in phase 0, because obviously once it's launched, that's definitely a marketing function and a sales function. But once it's launched, or before phase 0, before it's launched, I'm assuming, liaising with the CFO or, like the leadership team around revenue strategy and pre-decisions around what are market opportunities.
Yes.
And either at the same time or circling back to the operational team or R&D or innovation or product team, whatever that internal language. And marketing is help leading the insights about that product market fit. I guess we can kind of refer to it. I know that's like a little bit of a weird placement here for that, but so you're leading the insight so that there's healthy decisions, so that we're ready, that we have a product that the market is like gonna love, and the messaging is on point, because everything from who owns the strategy internally to who owns the product development internally to who's going to take it to market. But
Correct.
Marketing led those discussions.
Marketing will lead those discussions. And again, they do happen whenever you're in, say, your annual strategy meeting, or maybe you're meeting quarterly with your leadership team. What I have found successful in my own career is taking, I know we keep calling it phase 0, taking that discovery and your idea that's fully vetted, and then presenting it to the team so that you have something that you're working on. Business case. Here's where I believe the business can go.
Yeah.
So that you're on more of this, the velocity of actually looking and going through ideas is at a little quicker of a pace, so that you're not spending all of that 6 months up front.
Yeah.
But you can very quickly go through and identify, here's 5 things. Now let me vet them. Now let me take that to leadership, and I'm going to sell it in because I have a strong business case. my discovery, my phase 0 that says that this is what we can do.
Yeah. Okay. I've got to chase a squirrel real quick on this because I love what you're saying. So if you are bringing something to leadership, you always must reverse engineer your insights and your recommendations back up to what they care about. So anytime you are presenting to leadership, you start with what they care about, what the goals are that they set. You then carve out the niche or that portion of financial strategy that you're aligned with. And then you show that your plans align with that. Because the irony is a lot of times marketers know this, but they don't communicate it. And I do see marketing lose a lot of the ground that they stand on because they just jumped straight into the details and they didn't take that 5 minutes at the top of the meeting to go, you set these goals, here are the conversations that we had, and to make sure everybody's aligned, and here's the plan on how I'm going to hit that financial goal, because that's really the language. So what you're saying right there, I mean, there is a true art to that internal communication and alignment that you're so good at navigating. So I was like, oh my gosh, we got to park on this for just a second.
I have in the past at a very large organization, as a matter of fact, when I went in to present it to the C-suite, I started with the numbers straight off.
100%.
That's where I started with the numbers. And it was not a new product development. And that's something that I do want to mention is when you're looking at go-to-market, it does not necessarily have to be a brand new product, a brand new service that you are going out with. When you are truly scanning the landscape, you're also looking for where can I expand? So that expansion might be you're adding a different feature to what it is that you're doing, or you're going to an adjacent market where you see that there's a need. If you have a small augmentation, you may be looking at it from an international standpoint and saying, how can I take this product I make here and sell it over here to a brand new group of individuals?
Yes.
So your expansion can span quite a large different, things that are out there in the business world. So when you are thinking about go-to-market, don't just look at the new, the shiny. Look also at what you can do to make your product better.
Yes.
And whether that's capturing a new market, adding a new feature. I always think Tide, okay? Tide, it was just the little powder. And then it was, we have liquid. And, we have a stick that you can carry around. And, by the way, now you have a pod. I'm curious what's next.
Yeah.
Right? But they're keeping their finger on the pulse to see where is the consumer looking for a problem to be solved.
I agree. One of my favorite tools, which is not really a go-to-market tool, but it is definitely aligned, is from Blue Ocean Strategy, that oldie but goodie, and that buyer utility map, where you're simply looking for friction across the entire life cycle. And I think consumer products and consumer services are amazing at adopting this highly empathetic walk in someone else's shoes. And B2B is so late for this, but what they don't understand is this is big value, low cost innovation. Yes, please.
Yes.
And I mean, we have seen scenarios where the packaging of B2B, and when I say packaging, I might mean the delivery of it, like the paperwork of it, the administration, the onboarding. So we need to loosely define packaging away from point of sale in a grocery store, but packaging matters.
Yes.
And the delivery mechanism and the delivery usage of it, no matter if it's technology or an engineered product, or any of the different things that we serve, a service, that really matters. And that thinking can be an absolute game changer for very little cost, except attention and time internally that then creates that hockey stick that we're all seeking.
Absolutely. And when you're looking at it, just remember once you have it to that point where you've launched the product, you've done all of the due diligence, your customer should not have to look at it and say, I don't know what this is. I don't know how to use it. How is this going to be applied? Do I have to, go through, a huge Google document in order to figure out what it's going to do for me? They're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So when you have a solid product in place, because you've done a bang-up job creating it,
Yes.
then you're correct. That packaging of it, how you actually get it in their hands,
Yeah.
and that is one of the most critical things as well. So figure out what it is that you're going to be offering early and make sure it's a fit with the market. Do the middle part. And the middle part is, I think, a lot of fun, but that's where you are defining what is the pricing? How are we actually going to distribute this? That part right there is a lot of fun, in my opinion. You know me, I like
agree.
that. But then when you start to hand it off to sales and marketing for them to move it into, the sales world, it has to be truly nailed so that your value proposition, your differentiators are so crystal clear, there are no questions.
Yeah, exactly. And, it brings to mind Peter Drucker and his two favorite passions, as one of the foundational business consultants, were innovation and marketing.
Yes.
And that is literally go to market. And he was famous for saying that you need to design and market a product so well that it sells itself. And that is literally what you're talking about. And simply just asking for the runway.
Yes.
Couple months, 6 months, a year of saying, do the right thing and watch the dramatic revenue transformation that's possible.
Yes.
And play the long game, but it's not just long game, because once you launch, it is speed to revenue. That happens when this is really done well.
When it's done well, absolutely. And there's some questions that come to me quite a bit is we're already 80% of the way. What do we do now? Do we go backwards? How do we make this happen?
Oh, I can't wait to hear your answer. Yes.
What do we do?
Yes.
You do your go-to-market now, and you pump the brakes a little bit, and then you start moving forward again. The sooner you do it, the better the outcome will be, because companies that figure it out early, so let's say you did it right in the beginning, or you're doing it when you're like 50% of the way through, if you pause to make sure it's done, you will win.
Yeah.
You will be the one that the customer will come to every single time because you have the solution and they understand the solution. And if you skip it, I'm telling you right now, when you skip it and you rush a product to market, whether it's a service or a physical good, I've seen it very recently. A company did not spend the time understanding what the consumer wants, what the competition is doing, what the pricing thresholds are, where the trends are going, what's going to be happening over the next 5 years that would help guide and dictate what are the products and features, what are the features and benefits that this product needs to have.
Yes.
They were scooped 2 days before a major launch and had to pull the product because it did not compete. That right there is an example of, it's an extreme one, but it's an example of rushing because I have an idea.
Yeah.
This is going to work. People are going to love it. Maybe, your competitor's doing it a little bit better. Take a moment. Now let's see how we can actually improve upon that. Or here's the thing, maybe the product isn't the right one and you go to the next idea.
Yes.
You look for the next innovation.
Yes. And one thing I love about this, because I'm just going to circle back to why it's so important that you as the marketing lead are working with the other divisions in the company, is finance as an example. One of their primary benefits is risk mitigation. It's calming down the risk, naming it, and asking really great questions around, is this going to work? And if it doesn't, what do we do? And that alone heads off what you're talking about. And so that critical alignment where yes, marketing is the lead, but not in a silo and not after the product and decisions have been made. And then, hey, marketing, go make this work. That is a perfect example. I love that. I have another one, totally different, is in an industrial space for a client recently. So the market, they had done really great market research. And so they had done the internal, R&D and all of the financial. And now it's being distributed across the country. and different teams were launching it in different places because of partnership agreements, et cetera. Doesn't matter. The California launch, which we had nothing to do with, horrifying. Like,
really,
they cannot move that product to save, and it is so well thought out. So, but the Texas launch is having a lot of pre-adoption, and it's not even in market yet. And the reason was simply messaging and clarifying the niche in this market and the language they use it and the exact problem.
Yes.
And so we didn't say, here's every single thing you can do. Here's all the engineering reasons why we did it. Here's what it costs. But they're drowning in technical questions and pricing questions. And our partners in Texas don't have to navigate those at all because of the research and the time that was done to precede this market, think through what they needed and like where was the launch strategy.
Yes.
And they're literally like skipping the technical and being like, when can we get it? We get, we understand it. That's exactly what I've been looking for. I'm so excited. I had no idea this type of product existed. And when can I start specifying this? Let's go. But I mean, it's so interesting. Same product, same solution, same background, but then they didn't go all the way through and let marketing lead, like that phase 0 to phase 1 launch. And I mean, it's just such a dramatic difference.
Keep in mind that the customer is a large part of what it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm a huge advocate of focus groups, and a focus group does not necessarily have to be, they're in a room and there's a mirror and you're looking through. Those are a lot of fun, but it can be as simple as, voice of the customer calls. Give me 5 customers, either you have today or, prospects that you're working with or whatever that might be.
Yeah.
And let's call them, let's get them on the phone, let's talk through it to understand what's going to resonate with them. Because you're absolutely correct. If the product is the right product, but the messaging is off, then you need to know that up front, because you have spent man hours, which that has a cost, marketing dollars, creating things, which has a cost, for something to flounder. And that's the last thing you want to do. It can be mitigated with talking to your customer.
Yes.
You can have focus groups of any size. It can be just one-on-one. You can have 3 to 5 people on a Zoom call. That is one of the most critical things, because your customer won't lie. They're going to tell you whether or not it's going to work for them or not.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay, is there any additional advice or nuance that you're like, okay, I want to add if somebody's, getting their, about to take or retake a product to market? Any advice that you would give?
My advice is sit down for a moment and map out what it is that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And when I'm saying that, it is looking at the problem that you want to solve.
Yeah.
Not the passion idea that you have, but what is the true problem? It goes back to that, I always say this wrong, so correct me if I say it wrong. It's not that you are looking for a 3/4 inch bit. You're looking for a 3/4 inch hole.
Yes.
It's the hole, not the bit.
Exactly.
So what is it that you're really trying to solve? And is it something that your customer wants? Start there.
Yes.
And if you start mapping that out, and then you just sort of, I know we call it unspooling. You just start unspooling everything and working through the steps that go into discovery, or what I call phase 0.
Yeah.
You will get to that point of go, no go, which again is a business decision. It's not made in a silo.
Exactly. And I think that's the key, is we are advocating slow down to speed up. Not slow down forever, but slow down to get as close to possible as a guaranteed successful launch. So Mellora Moore, thank you so much. It has been a delight having you on our team these years. And so you guys, if you've got any questions for us or Mellora specifically, drop your comments, follow her on social media. And thank you so, so much. And go ahead and hit that like button. We know you want to. We know you want to. But even more important, definitely hit the subscribe. We drop an episode every single week, and we are tracking with the questions that you ask, the questions we're seeing in the market, and the trends that are ticking us off. And that's how we're getting inspired, because it is time for business to business marketing to grow up and really start earning its keep. And the pace of change is not going to slow down. So we're here to help you get there and to clarify return on investment. Onward and upward, people.